I moved to Wisconsin in the dead of winter. The job offer came suddenly. A software company in Madison needed someone fast. I packed everything I owned into my truck. My German Shepherd Hector sat in the passenger seat the whole drive. The house was small but affordable. A quiet street on the edge of town. Snow covered everything. The trees looked like skeletons wrapped in white sheets. My neighbor's house sat maybe 40 feet away. A gray 2-story place with dark windows. I never saw anyone come or go. Just a black SUV parked in the driveway. Always in the same spot. Always covered in fresh snow. The first night I unpacked boxes while the wind howled outside. Hector stayed close to me. He kept looking at the wall facing the neighbor's house. His ears pointed forward. His body tense. I told him to relax. He didn't. That same night, I woke up to Hector growling, not barking. Growling, low and steady. He stood at the bedroom window facing the neighbor's yard, his lips pulled back, showing his teeth. I looked outside but saw nothing, just snow falling under the streetlight. I pulled him away from the window and went back to sleep. The next morning, I noticed something strange. There was a smell coming from somewhere. Bleach and copper. It smelled like blood, but I couldn't admit that to myself. I checked the garbage. I checked the drains. Nothing. The smell got stronger near the wall closest to the neighbor's house. Over the next few days, Hector's behavior got worse. He refused to go into the backyard. He would stand at the door and whine. When I forced him outside, he stayed pressed against the house. His eyes never left the fence line. The following night, I heard something else. A sound from the neighbor's house. Muffled, like a scream but choked, like someone's mouth was covered. I told myself it was the wind, but there was no wind that night. The air was completely still. I had fear, not evidence, and I hated myself for how quickly I accepted that. 2 nights later, I heard the digging, a rhythmic sound from next door, metal hitting frozen dirt. Someone was shoveling. I turned off my lights and looked out the window. The neighbor's backyard was dark. I couldn't even see where he was digging. Snow was filling the yard as fast as the shovel cleared it. But I could see movement, a figure working, over and over, for hours. The temperature was 15 below zero. Who digs in frozen ground at night? I thought about calling the police, but what would I say? My neighbor is gardening. The digging stopped around dawn. I saw the figure go back inside. I never saw their face. 2 days later, Hector disappeared. I let him out in the morning like always. 20 minutes passed. I called his name. Nothing. I searched the yard. I searched the street. The snow was falling hard now. My fingers went numb. I found his collar near the fence. The fence separating my yard from the neighbor's. The collar was unclipped, not broken. Unclipped. I pounded on the neighbor's door. No answer. I called the police. They came. They knocked. No answer. I told them about the digging, but by then the yard was smooth again. Fresh snow, no footprints, nothing they could call evidence. They said they couldn't enter without a warrant. They told me dogs run away sometimes. They told me to check the shelters. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. On the 3rd morning, I heard scratching at my front door. I opened it and Hector was there, shaking, whimpering, pressing himself against my legs. But something was wrong. His fur was gone, all of it, shaved down to the skin. Every inch of his body, his beautiful black and tan coat, gone. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink. He just lay in the corner and shook. I took him to the vet. She said he wasn't physically hurt, but his stress levels were extreme. She asked
what happened to his fur.
I told her I didn't know. She looked at me for a long moment.
Whoever did this used professional equipment. Surgical grade clippers,
she said. The next week, I saw a police car parked outside the neighbor's house. Then another, then 3 more. I walked outside. An officer stopped me at the property line. I asked what was going on. He looked at me for a long moment.
Sir, no one has lived in that house for 2 years,
he said. I felt my stomach drop.
The previous owner died. The property has been tied up in probate.
I looked at the driveway again. The black SUV was still there, buried in snow. The officer followed my eyes.
Still registered to the previous owner,
he said.
With probate, nobody can authorize a tow. The city's been told not to touch anything on the property.
They searched the house. After they got inside, they found a locked storage space in the basement. And then they went out back. The snow looked untouched from the street. but up close the yard was full of disturbed patches, freshly turned earth hidden under a thin crust of ice. They pulled out a contractor bag. Inside were collars, more than one, different sizes, different colors. Hector's was on top. They found the basement door padlocked from the hallway side, but the hasp had been installed backward, so once shut it couldn't be opened from outside. They found tools, surgical tools, clippers, scalpels, things I don't want to name. They never found who was using them. I thought about staying, but where would I go that they couldn't follow? It didn't matter. I couldn't sleep in that house anymore. I moved out the following month. Hector's fur eventually grew back, but he never stopped flinching when he heard metal scraping. And sometimes, late at night, I still wonder, what were they practicing for? And did they ever finish?
The house was exactly what Daniel and I wanted. A quiet street in suburban Connecticut, big backyard, room for a garden, room for kids someday. We moved in during October. The leaves were turning. The air smelled like rain and smoke from distant fireplaces. Our neighbor to the left was an elderly woman. She lived alone. I never learned her name. The first time I saw her, she was standing at her window, watching us unload the moving truck. She didn't wave. She didn't smile. She just watched. I waved anyway. She stepped back from the window and disappeared. I told Daniel about it that night. He frowned.
That's a little weird,
he said.
but maybe she's just lonely. Old people get like that.
I wanted to believe that. The next few weeks were normal. We unpacked. We painted the bedroom. We met other neighbors, but not her. Never her. I would see her sometimes, always at the window, always looking at our house, but only when I was outside alone. When Daniel was with me, her curtains stayed closed. I started paying attention. I would work in the garden. She would appear at the window. Daniel would come outside. She would vanish. It happened every single time. She had a cat, a black one with yellow eyes. It would sit on her windowsill and watch me too. At night, I would hear it fighting with other cats, screaming sounds that almost seemed human, always near her property. One afternoon, I was planting bulbs in the front yard. My phone was on the grass next to me. I reached for it and noticed the screen had dimmed. The automatic brightness had adjusted, like something was blocking the light. I turned around. She was right there, not at her window, at the edge of her property, 3 feet behind me, close enough to touch. Her face was pale and lined. Her eyes were locked on mine. She held the black cat in her arms. The cat was staring at me too.
"Beautiful flowers,"
she said. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. I stood up too fast. My heart was pounding. I mumbled something about needing to go inside. She didn't move as I walked away. I watched from my kitchen window. She stood there for another 10 minutes. Then she walked back to her house. The cat's eyes never left my window. That night, a thunderstorm rolled through. Lightning lit up the bedroom like daylight. I woke up sometime in the middle of the night. The room smelled different. Lavender, strong and fresh. Our bedroom window was closed. I checked, but the smell was there. The same lavender that grew in her front yard. I couldn't fall back asleep. The next morning, I came downstairs. The cat was sitting in our living room, just sitting there, staring at me. Every door was locked. Every window was closed. I checked them twice. The cat didn't move. It just watched me with those yellow eyes. Someone had been inside our house. Someone had let it in. I told Daniel. His face went pale.
We need to call the police.
He said. He finally believed me. The police came. They took notes. They checked the locks.
No signs of forced entry.
One of them said. They suggested we install cameras. That afternoon, we ordered them with overnight shipping. That night, I stayed awake. I watched her house through our bedroom window. Around midnight, I saw it. Her bedroom window was dark, completely dark, but there was something inside. A small red light, blinking, pointed directly at our window. I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. I aimed it at her window. The red light disappeared, but I saw movement. Someone stepping back from the window. I'm sure she was recording me. She had been recording me this whole time. We called the police again. They went to her house. They knocked. No answer. They said they couldn't enter without evidence of a crime. 3 days later, a moving truck appeared. We watched from our window as men carried furniture out of her house. Boxes, a mattress. No cap this time. She came out last. She walked to the truck, but before she got in, she turned. She looked directly at our window, directly at me. She smiled, not a friendly smile, a satisfied smile, like she had gotten what she came for. The truck drove away. We never saw her again. But the story doesn't end there. 6 months later, a friend sent me a link. Is this you? She asked. It was a video site, a dark corner of the internet. No verification, no real moderation. The thumbnail showed a bedroom. My bedroom, through my window. The video was a compilation, dozens of clips stitched together. Me sleeping, me changing, me and Daniel. The view count was 6 figures. I reported it. They took it down, but it had been up long enough to spread. Mirrors, re-uploads, fragments everywhere. I don't know how many people have seen it. I don't know where she is now. But sometimes late at night, when the storms come through, I still smell lavender in the bedroom. And I wonder how long she watched before I ever noticed.
I moved to Minneapolis in January. The worst possible time. Snow piled 5 feet high on the sidewalks. Wind chill dropped to 30 below. The kind of cold that hurts your lungs. My apartment was on the 3rd floor of an old brick building. 1 bedroom. Thin walls, but it was mine. I brought my dog Cooper, a border collie with too much energy. He hated the cold. He would do his business outside and sprint back to the door. I didn't blame him. The unit next to mine had been empty when I moved in. The landlord mentioned someone might be moving in soon. I didn't think much of it. 2 weeks later, I met them. A couple stepped out of the elevator as I was coming home, maybe late 20s. The man was tall with a shaved head. The woman was short with red hair. They introduced themselves as Marcus and Jenna, said they just moved in next door. Their smiles were warm. Their eye contact was steady, almost too steady. Over the next few weeks, they were everywhere. They knocked on my door with homemade cookies. They invited me over for dinner. They asked about my job, my routine, my schedule. They were almost too nice. But something felt off. Small things at first. I asked Marcus what he did for work.
Finance,
He said. 2 days later, I asked Jenna the same question.
He works in tech.
She said. I didn't correct her. One evening I mentioned they made a great couple. Where did you meet? I asked. Marcus smiled.
college, junior year, psychology class.
A week later, I asked Jenna the same question in the laundry room, casually, like I had forgotten.
We met through friends.
She said.
At a party in Brooklyn, 4 years ago.
My stomach tightened, but I kept my face neutral. I told myself I was overreacting. I didn't want to be the paranoid neighbor who called management over nothing. I started watching them more carefully. They said they worked from home, but I never heard typing through the walls, never heard phone calls, never heard anything at all. One night, Cooper started growling at the wall we shared with their unit. His hackles raised, his body low to the ground. Then I noticed it. The air near the wall felt different, colder, like standing next to an open freezer. But there was no vent there, no window, just the wall. I pressed my ear against the wall. Silence, complete silence. I ran into them at the grocery store a few days later, a Saturday evening. The snow was falling hard. The parking lot was almost empty. I waved. They waved back. But as I walked past them, I noticed something. Their cart was empty. Completely empty. They were heading toward the exit with nothing. Our eyes met. Jenna smiled at me, but her eyes didn't smile. They studied me, cold and calculating, like I was being tested. I grabbed my groceries and left. In the parking lot, I glanced back. They were getting into their car, a green sedan, but they didn't drive away. They just sat there, engine off, watching me leave. That night, I couldn't sleep. Cooper was restless too. He kept pacing, kept looking at the wall. The next morning, I went to the building manager's office. I asked about the unit next to mine. The manager frowned.
That unit isn't leased. It's listed as maintenance storage. No one is supposed to be living in there.
She said. That's not possible. I've talked to them multiple times. I said. She pulled up her computer.
Unit 3B has been marked as storage since October. No lease, no deposit.
She looked at me like I was crazy. I can show you if you want. We walked upstairs together. She knocked on the door. No answer. She used her master key. The door swung open. No sign of forced entry. No fresh scratches on the strike plate. The apartment was empty. No furniture. No boxes. No sign anyone had ever lived there. But the walls weren't empty. They were covered in paper, printouts, photographs. Photographs of me, walking Cooper, leaving for work, coming home, at the grocery store, through my window, sleeping, and in the center of the wall, taped neatly, was a floor plan. My floor plan, my apartment, every room labeled in red marker, entry points circled, my bedroom window marked with an X, and at the bottom, in careful handwriting, routine, leaves 8 a.m., returns 6 p.m., dog walked 7 a.m., 8 p.m., 11 p.m. The manager called the police. They came. They took pictures. They found nothing usable. Smudged prints. No clear DNA. The detective told me they probably picked the lock every time. Professional grade picks can leave very little you can use. He sat me down. He looked tired.
This looks like scouting,
He said.
human trafficking, home invasion. We've seen this before.
He paused.
You're lucky. Whatever they were planning, something made them stop.
I moved out the next week. Cooper and I drove south, somewhere warmer, somewhere without neighbors. I never saw Marcus and Jenna again, but sometimes I think about that floor plan, the circles around my doors, the X on my window, the notes about my routine. They weren't living next to me. They were studying me, learning my patterns, waiting for something. And I still don't know why they stopped, or if somewhere in some other city, there's another floor plan on another wall, with someone else's name on it, maybe even yours. Three neighbors, three nightmares. Which one was the worst? Story 1, 2, or 3. Drop your score out of 10 in the comments. And if you're still watching, you already know what to do. Subscribe. Stay aware. Until next time.